I have a lot of things I want to get off my chest.
Well, enough is enough, and it's time for a change.
Finally, The Rock has come back. I hate this idea that you're the best.
And if you're not down with that, we got two words for ya!
I'm the best in the world.
I fight at WrestleMania for the very, very small percentage of people that walk this planet and say I am proud to be, I'm sorry, a professional wrestler.
Oops, I'm breaking the fourth wall.
It's Podcast of the Immortals with your hosts, Matt Bush and Jimmy Bellamy.
All right, welcome to episode 4 of Podcast of the Immortals. I am Matt Bush.
I'm Jimmy Bellamy.
And we got a loaded show for you today. We're going to be talking about the untimely death of Paul Bearer yesterday. We're going to hit the Raw recap like we do every week. We got a really special top 10. We're on our road to WrestleMania, so we're kicking that off with the top 10 WrestleManias of all time. We're going to do a fun little thing. Also, this will be a 5-week installment where we're going to be doing a fantasy draft. You want to tell them about that, Jim?
Matt and I have decided to take our top wrestlers and pit them against each other. And I think when we're done with this, we can even compete with the ones who exist in WWE 13. And for the others, we can maybe download their created characters.
That's a good idea.
And fight against each other. We've had some heated battles already in WWE 13. So what we're going to do is, for those 5 weeks, each time we will draft 5 wrestlers, past and present, and go up against each other. So if Matt picks somebody, they're off the board. I can't select them. And we'll see who has the better stable or better organization, better brand.
Better brand, yeah. We'll have the what should be the MWF, the Matthew Wrestling Foundation.
The foundation,
yeah.
All right, yeah, you can do that. I'm going to need more time to come up with a clever name, but
well, you can't be as clever as my MWF.
I would say I'll be JWB, Jimmy's Wrestling Bunch.
Well, there you go.
Wrestling Bunch, but I'm spelling wrestling with a W still.
Sounds awesome. So we will be drafting 5 people a week for the next 5 weeks. We'll be putting it on the website so you can maybe vote, comment on who you think is best. We'll have that right at the end of the show. It's going to be fun.
Yeah, let us know if you disagree. Let us know who you'd have.
Yeah. So we'll get to Paul Bearer, who passed away yesterday at the age 58. Do you have any favorite memories of Paul Bearer?
Heavy hearts today. William Moody, real life William Moody, also known in some circles as Percy Pringle III.
Percy Pringle III. Funny story about that. He didn't know that there was 2 other Percy Pringles, so they actually had to change the name. It's just a little tidbit that no one knew. That was in the 80s before he had come to WWF.
He invented Pringles, I believe. No.
Yeah, he is Mr. Pringle. He's the guy.
He kind of looks like the guy on the
can. If you put a little white makeup and black eyebrows.
Give him Wario's mustache.
Yep.
I'm gonna win.
Yep.
Paul Bearer, my favorite Paul Bearer moment. I don't know if I have one that stands out. I mean, immediately what came to mind today was the one where he actually was killed on the air and dumped with cement poured on him and suffocated.
I think that was a few times where he was locked in like fridges to die and
pushed down the stairs in his wheelchair,
buried alive.
My favorite moment would have to be during the Ministry of Darkness days. Mm-hmm. He was so creepy from the time he debuted with The Undertaker. I didn't like Kane when Kane debuted, so I didn't like the blonde Paul Bearer, the blonde hair, red jacket Paul Bearer. Wasn't a fan, and wanted him to side with The Undertaker. When he came back with The Undertaker, with Ministry Undertaker, as you guys know, is my favorite, got a big kick out of him being in that big stable, having all that firepower behind him. Oh, yeah. So just anything with Ministry Undertaker, so rocking that urn, which makes me wonder, I hope this doesn't seem disrespectful, but will he be put in the urn now?
Oh, wow.
Or will WWE will they stoop low enough to have some kind of storyline where he is in the urn?
I don't know if they're that Well, I shouldn't say that. They probably will.
Because to me, he seems like he would have been cool with that. He would have signed off on that. I mean, his Twitter handle was WWE Earniverse.
Yeah.
I could see him saying, "Hey, look, it's cool if you want to do what you want." I mean, the man was, a mortician.
Yeah.
And
and that's a little known fact that he actually had a degree in, I don't know, the mortitional arts. I don't know what the exact...
He was a bodyologist?
Yeah.
No, I have no idea what you call it.
Imbaldiologist? I don't know. But he was actually a funeral director for a while, around 1984, when he was trying to make it in the business of wrestling, and he had just left the service. He was in, I forget which branch, but he had served in the military. And that's where he actually became a fan of wrestling, and he actually wrestled for a while in the late 70s and early 80s.
I liked him. He was a creepy manager, which, to be a manager, you had to stand out. You had to help your guy win.
Mm-hmm.
And he was with The Undertaker, of course, when Undertaker was unstoppable, Mr. No Sell. So he didn't really need help, but he added to that creepy factor. He scared the bejesus out of me, like he probably did a lot of kids.
Oh, yeah.
And that combo of The Undertaker and Paul Bearer was a successful one, marketing wise. I mean, he is a huge reason why Undertaker is as big as he is today in popularity. I think he has helped Undertaker's legend grow year after year.
Well, he's a throwback to like the 80s kind of WWF, where in the early 90s, where everyone had a gimmick, everyone had a thing, but he was able to bring that into like the more realistic era, and still no one questioned it, along with The Undertaker.
He's right up there with Jimmy Hart, with Mr. Fuji, and even I'd even throw Elizabeth in there as a great manager, and Sherry Martel. He did a great job of being that cartoonish guy, and like you said, transitioning out of that era to the Attitude Era and beyond. Whether he was changing his allegiance to Kane, or siding with The Undertaker, or siding with both, and being with Mankind at one time. And I think you pointed out Rick Rude, Stone Cold Steve Austin.
That was before
pre Stone Cold'em.
Yep.
Stone Cold'em is a word now. So tough loss. I mean, I'm guessing this guy battled obesity most of his life. I think he had gastric bypass surgery.
He was at over 500 pounds at one point. Okay. So he was Yokozuna kind of scale. But he had recently lost a few hundred pounds, and he was under 300, I believe.
Okay.
So, I mean, he was trying to make progress in his health, and it's just really unfortunate that he passed away at an untimely age of 58. He's
going to stand out, I think, in the history of professional wrestling forever as one of the guys you think of when you think of this era of, and by this era, I mean ages from now, when you say this era and you lump in the 80s, 90s, and today. He was a great part of it, and I think he debuted in 91.
90 or 91.
Yeah, I think it was 91, because it wasn't right away with The Undertaker.
No, it was a few months after.
A little after.
Undertaker had a different manager at first. But
he was with DiBiase for a while, wasn't he?
Yeah.
And Brother Love. Brother Love was his manager.
Yeah. My favorite moment, really quick, is it wasn't really any like moment in time, but it was he would always bring the urn in. But then all of a sudden the urn just like grew like 8 sizes, like the Grinch's heart, Yeah. Like I didn't. It was never explained why it got so huge, but I just love the goofiness of it.
Well, I'm thinking that they kept piling Undertaker opponents in there, and so the ashes were pushing. The ash count grew, so they needed a bigger urn, and also they needed to make it look more devastating when opponents were hit with it.
Sure. Well, that just makes a lot of sense. So thank you for that, Jim.
But rest in peace, Paul Bearer.
Yes, absolutely. Rest in peace. Well, speaking of Paul Bearer, Raw kicks off on Monday with none else than The Undertaker returning to basically state that he's coming back for WrestleMania 29.
Yeah. I know people get excited about that. I'm not one to get excited just because you hear his dong, which I know you love.
As long as it's twice.
Yeah, as long as it's twice. Yeah. I was hoping that they would have gotten into this storyline a little differently. I saw some reactions from people saying, it was cool that Undertaker came out and let people know he was open for business, and that people would aim for this as a goal of theirs to make a name for themselves or a bigger name by beating the legendary undefeated Undertaker at WrestleMania. And now you can see the last few years WWE has used this almost as like another title where, who's going to be in the Undertaker match? The only problem with that is it's who's going to fight for the right to lose to the Undertaker at WrestleMania. So I saw this as, instead of having Punk defiantly come out and challenge the Taker and have the Taker accept it, putting it into a fatal 4-way match with other guys who don't have matches on the card, to me it cheapened it a bit. And they can talk about it all they want on Monday about how this is the biggest match in Raw history or one of the biggest matches in Raw history. Punk won, but you know with certainty that he's going to lose. Even though
I disagree. I think Undertaker's so beat up. He's getting old. He's already got to 20. I thought that was his magic number. He wanted to get to 20. I legitimately think Punk has a chance to win. Not a big chance.
They want you to believe that.
I know.
But as soon as he loses, WWE loses on that attraction every year. I mean, because Undertaker, he can do this for another 5 years. I know he's older and he's slow, and he even though you can only see a tiny bit of his face in that giant, Super Shredder costume he was wearing on Sunday or on Monday, you could tell he's looking very old. He looked very old in that photo you tweeted, where he was seen in Nashville,
Waco.
Waco.
He had a match in Waco.
Okay,
and then he was seen at Nashville
in that Predators game or whatever. So they aren't going to have him lose ever, because they will have this as an attraction year after year, as something to hold away from the title, to say, hey, look at this guy.
Oh, I completely understand that, but I think it might not be this year, but whenever Undertaker's done, he's going out on his back. He respects a business too much than to not put someone over in his final match. I think he'll keep the streak going as long as he possibly can and then lose. And from what I've heard, he's so beat up, he's had to have multiple surgeries in the past year. If he is done and he this is his final match, he will lose. I just think that's Undertaker's mentality. I think he does what's right for business. He has done his entire career, and I think that's how he goes out.
It would be refreshing if that is the case. It would help me deal with the predictability of what this looks like it's turning out to be. I can take a John Cena title win over Rock if it means that CM Punk defeats The Undertaker.
I'm not... More likely, 30 will be his last one, is what I've heard. But I think for his character, for him to never come back, his character has to be dead. Like, literally dead. In the ring. He loses at WrestleMania. His character's dead, and he can never come back.
To me, what would make sense then is, and it wouldn't do anything it wouldn't make sense career-wise for it to happen, but Kane should be the one to do it. Or if Punk wins, Kane, and I don't see it this year based on the angle that Kane's wrapped up in right now, but Kane should be the one to assist in putting The Undertaker down.
Maybe.
Period.
Yeah, I mean, I could see that. I don't know. I would love to have a young guy win it, but...
I'll tell you this, though. Even it's proof right here how much we've talked about it here in the opening segment. He is right now the biggest match to me in this pay-per-view. It's the match I'm most looking forward to. A big part of it is that his opponent is Punk, but it has the most possibilities to me long term. In the other matches, Swagger Del Rio, I'm not interested a great deal in that. I'm not invested in that. I'm also not seeing what's gonna happen there long term, because I see Del Rio retaining based on the whole Swagger issue off the field, outside of the ring. And then as far as Rock Cena, I see Cena winning. Yeah, I see Cena winning. I see Rock going away, even though he's booked for Elimination Chamber. He's not a regular guy.
He's not anymore. They've stopped advertising.
Well, there you go.
So that's new news as well.
I'm glad you're here to tell me all this.
Yeah,
stuff.
I'm your insider.
You have your finger on the proverbial pulse.
Indeed. So yeah, it should be interesting. I'm really excited about the match. But you know what I really loved is when it felt like it was old school night in Buffalo, and it felt like an old school promo. You got CM Punk going, you know what? I need to be in the main event and Mania. This is a main event kind of match. I want to be in it. And you just had someone, you have Randy Orton come out like, guess what? I want to be in that match too. It was basically like, I want to be the best, which they never do anymore. It's like, I've got a beef with you, so I'm coming after your title. It's never like, I'm better than you. I just want to win. I want to fight you. They never do that anymore. They never, and you had multiple guys like, you know what? Me too. Like, they never do that anymore. They never like, and anyone in the back, you know, da-da-da.
You see it, you do see it occasionally. You see it when they don't quite know how to start a feud. They'll have someone come on and say, I've done this, I've accomplished this, you know, blah, blah, blah. And then all of a sudden somebody's music hits and they're like, oh, so-and-so's answered the call. It's Sheamus. Look at him. So you do see it. You do see it. Look at him in that red hair.
Look at the skin.
And that beard.
Yeah.
I think that right now they are, instead of pushing forward with the talent they have, they're sometimes stuck in neutral, just spinning their tires. And can you spin your tires in neutral? I don't think you can. Your tires don't move in neutral.
You mostly just either coast downhill or stop.
Well, it's so bad right now that they are spinning their tires in neutral. Wow. And it's not even possible.
It's that bad right now.
Yeah.
Well, I like the promo. I thought it was Orton's best promo in a long time.
Yeah. I was happy to see him come back. I've been saying, I don't even know if I've been saying it on here. I may have said it last week. I know I've been telling you off the air, which is awesome, that Orton, he should be ready to get back into that title scene. Mm-hmm. I thought that they kept him out of it for a good amount of time.
Too long.
I think it was enough for me to get excited about him again.
Yeah.
So to bring him in now, I want to see him turn heel. He's a great bad guy, and they need some more great bad guys, because right now their bad guys are good, but they're not winning.
That's the number one problem with WWE. I could spend an hour on this alone. They have no strong heels anymore. Like, if you look at any time that's great in the business, like, they had awesome heels. Like, they had the Corporation. They had Rock as a heel. They had Triple H as the most dominant heel I've ever seen. They had Yokozuna, who was a great heel, and we'll talk about him later when we maybe mention our top 10 WrestleManias. But they had these great, great bad guys who not only, I mean, they could beat you up and win without cheating, but every single win, even since CM Punk has turned heel, he can't win a match unless he has to cheat somehow. The Shield comes out, or Brad Maddox hits someone in the balls.
We're seeing some of the same matches over and over, and you'd think with 3 hours of Raw and with this Super Show, not even really a roster split anymore, even though some guys don't get a whole lot of time on SmackDown, you think that we would see some different matches. But I think this year we've seen Ryback and Antonio Cesaro 6 times. And Ryback has won every one of those matches, and Cesaro is still the U.S. champion. We see Dolph Ziggler outperform everybody week after week and lose. He can give
to the Miz.
He can give a million moves to Cena and have Cena kick out of every one of them.
He hit him with every finisher in that match. The one you're talking about, like a month ago.
And then he taps out to the Miz. It doesn't make sense.
Yeah.
They have the guys to do it. They just need to let them do it. They need to have their bad guys win occasionally.
Cleanly.
Yes.
Cleanly is the key. Like, make them believable. Like, you look at you look at great movies. Okay, they're trying to make movies in WWE. They're trying to tell stories. The greatest stories ever, like Lord of the Rings. You got the greatest bad guy, like Sauron, who controls his army, is unstoppable. You can't beat him. And then you overcome these great odds. That was so great about it.
You somehow managed to make a podcast about pro wrestling even geekier.
I know.
By that Lord of the Rings reference.
You want me to talk about Star Trek, Harry Potter? I'll bring it up too. But no, okay, Star Wars. Greatest bad guy of all time. You got Darth Vader. Okay, how are you going to beat the baddest MRFer?
Matt Hardy?
Matt
Hardy's fans?
Yeah. In the galaxy.
Does Matt Hardy have fans?
I think he's got a few, probably. I think his brother likes him.
Okay.
Sometimes. But But you need that ultimate bad guy to overcome. Otherwise, it gets boring.
Plus, you have no payoff. Your payoff, fans always get what they want in the end. But your payoff isn't significant if the good guy is winning the entire time anyway and dominating.
Yeah.
It doesn't make sense to me. Now we've had Del Rio has he fought? I think it's Ziggler. He's fought Ziggler like 3 times. Am I mistaken? I think it is Dolph Ziggler. He's fought 3 times recently.
And they're fighting on SmackDown this week too.
And then you have Del Rio, make quick work out of the Intercontinental Champion Wade Barrett. I mean, it to me, it gives me nothing to invest in if you just have these good guys going over with ease. Yeah. When you have the talent there, but again, you can amass. Stop misusing these heels now, and make Sheamus a bad guy. I mean, I know he's almost number 2 to Cena when it comes to like kid friendly now, which I never would have seen coming 3 years ago, ever, because he was a guy that was fun to hate.
He was a bad Matt Hardy.
Yeah, he was a fun guy to hate. And make him a bad guy. Make Orton a bad guy. Enough of this lopsided good guy domination. We don't need that, because if you have the bad guys dominate, then it makes those pay-per-view victories by the good guys stand out and mean something.
Yeah. You know what would be awesome? And I was thinking about this. The Shield, they're kind of slated to take on Orton, Sheamus, and who was the third? I forget. Maybe Big Show. Wouldn't it be great if Orton turned heel in that match and joined the Shield, became the leader of the Shield, or something like that? Or Ryback? How great would Ryback be if he just all of a sudden turned heel?
And Ryback would make sense. To me, Ryback would make more sense than Orton, because Orton led Legacy. He was a crony in Evolution. He led Legacy. To have him lead another faction, I think, would be a step backwards. At this point in his career, maybe if he was a little older and maybe on the downside of his career, he could lead a faction again, or at least be a part of one. Ryback makes sense. He's an NXTer, so there's that tie there with the Shield guys, even though it's completely different seasons of NXT. That to me makes more sense. Ryback would be a good heel. And to me, he comes across as that, where a lot of people have jokingly made the Goldberg comparison, at least a little more 4 months ago before he started losing. But to me, I saw him wrestle in a dark match about a year ago on Raw in Minneapolis, right before Raw. And it was on the road to WrestleMania. It was actually the night Triple H accepted the Undertaker's challenge.
Yeah, I was at that.
Okay, and Ryback, he came out in all black, and I don't even know if he had music. He may have even had just like generic music.
I missed the Superstars,
but he performed like a heel, and he wasn't. He may have fought JTG or something in just a crap match, but very quick. That was, I think, before they started feeding him 2 jobbers at a time. He performed like a bad guy, and I thought, okay, this is old Skip Sheffield, and he's going to be a bad guy and not talk. But then he started to pick up steam as a babyface once he started making these TV appearances, and even when he first debuted on TV and was fighting 2 jobbers at the same time, he kind of looked like a heel anyway. I mean, he didn't really play to the fans. I don't even think he did the feed me more right away at the time.
No, not to
but
start.
He, to me, would be a bad guy, and it would make sense to turn him, using his frustration from these losses as the fuel to...
Well, you can do the can't beat him, join him kind of thing.
Yeah.
And, it would set up a lot of fresh feuds. He could take on Sheamus, he could take on Cena, he could take on Orton. He could run through these guys and maybe make a legitimate threat to... as a heel.
And you might as well be the heel winning instead of beating these heels who are losing to everybody else.
Yeah. So that was our first segment of the night. 23 minutes in.
Lots to say.
Yeah. We also had a Rock versus Cena promo, and I really liked Rock in this. I thought this was really good Rock. He had a great quote. He goes, "To win, you need to have heart. You just need to have it in the right place." And Cena's like, "Oh, okay." And he goes, "Yeah, you know who said that? That was Lance Armstrong, and he was full of crap just like you are."
I thought it was funny that he threw Lance Armstrong in there when you've probably got 2 or 3 guys involved there who have used performance-enhancing drugs.
Or maybe 3.
So I got a kick out of that because we probably could use some Rock quotes and years from now find out that he was full of crap as well. But I didn't understand point counterpoint. Again, it seemed like a staged setup deal. Funny, wrestling staged and set up, but have this natural conversation, this natural feud, this natural promo. Not up next we're gonna have point counterpoint with Rock and Cena like it's a high school
like
debate.
Crossfire on CNN or something.
I mean, just show some intensity. I mean, give me a reason to tune into this match at WrestleMania. Give me the reason to plunk down money for something that I think is as predictable as an Undertaker WrestleMania match at this point. I want to see these guys get physical with each other in a brawl, much like they had Punk and Rock doing before their first
Triple H
match.
last week.
I don't need these guys to sit here and talk. Everything's been said. They've talked for 2 years. Get in a fight. I want to see throw Rock in a tag match. I'm sure there's something stipulating that he can't, because he's filming a movie right now, get involved in a match other than at WrestleMania. But I mean, put him in a tag match where he's in it for, a quarter of the time. Something that gets me interested. Put him and Cena together like they did at Survivor Series a couple years ago.
I would like to see that. I'm sure we won't. But the Cena promo that he was cutting back at Rock was kind of boring to me. He sounded a lot like The Rock did when Rock was talking to CM Punk. He was saying, 20 or 35 days, or he's like, you just keep looking at that calendar, man, because you know what's coming. I need to win this.
And I was okay with that just because it's better than the Cena poop jokes and the kid centric stuff. So I'm okay with a serious. I'm okay with a serious Cena, and I still would like some kind of explanation as to why The Rock isn't going the same route as he did last year with degrading Cena. Maybe I sound like a hypocrite because I criticized Rock sometimes for some of the humor that he used, some of his, comments that were maybe derogatory towards gays and derogatory towards women. I mean, it's the 21st century, and if you're going to compare somebody to a woman in order to insult them, I think you really need to change your material up. Awkward silence.
Yeah, no, it's cool. It's cool.
That was a big sigh by Matt. By the way. I thought he was going to say something, but he was sighing
I have something profound to say. There's been a lot of talk about the potential for Cena to turn heel at WrestleMania.
If they do it, it will blow me away.
Yeah.
It will make everything worth it, because I think they have so much invested in his Make-A-Wish Foundation appearances, in the merchandise sales, in the big push to keep kids interested in wrestling, that they won't do it. They've sacrificed his character and said, look, wins and losses won't matter. You might not get a championship because, our trade-off will be we'll let other guys have the belt. If you just be this money-making machine that is the kid's superhero. But if they turn him heel, which eventually they will. I mean, they've turned everyone heel eventually. I mean, other than Rey Mysterio, everybody's been a heel eventually. Well, not Ricky Steamboat, but I'm just naming all these exceptions. But eventually Cena will, whether it's now or in 4 years.
Yeah.
To me, that's one of the big moves that they are yet to make, that they should make.
I would love to see it, and it makes a lot of sense, especially the way Cena's been talking. Or he talked on Monday, I should say. How he says he has to have this match. He has to win. Well, would he resort to cheating to win this match is what my question is.
I think that's the only way he's not going to get booed at WrestleMania.
Yeah, and it's funny you mentioned that, because I just wrote a post today. You can check it out on our site, podcastingimmortals.wordpress.com. I went down the line, top 5 anti-Cena crowds of all time, and included was the Raw after WrestleMania last year. We had One Night Stand, ECW in 06. We had the CM Punk match
Money in the
at Money in the Bank 2011. A couple others as well. But WWE is worried that if John Cena wins the title at WrestleMania this year, he will be booed out of MetLife Stadium. And that will be the lasting image of... that'll be their final image of WrestleMania, is him being booed. Your number one star being booed. If
they play the card, the John Cena heel turn card, it would inject so much life into that product. Mm-hmm. Just to see how he is treated by the fans who boo him now, to see the kids devastated, to see... I mean, I would love to see him just do the classic walk down the ramp, rip up a poster, insult a kid, change up his attire a bit. Mm-hmm. I think that would add so much more, and it would take care of the problem we just talked about, because then he would be a heel who continues to win just like he wins all the time now. If they make him a heel and he's winning, it would deliver what this product needs. I mean, it would get my eyes on that TV every week, guaranteed. I wouldn't be sour about it. I wouldn't even DVR it to skip commercials. I would watch it live every single minute.
Oh, it'd be awesome, and I'd love to. It'd be so easy to do too. They could. I mean, it doesn't even have to be at WrestleMania. You could just come out and go, you know what? I'm tired of being booed. I'm tired of being your Superman. I'm tired of being on your Fruity Pebbles boxes. And I'm done with this.
He could easily play the card that he's not being respected because he is Super Cena, and because he's this kid favorite, his work is overlooked. He is a good wrestler. Mm-hmm. I mean, I feel like I'm swearing right now, or like I'm saying something taboo. He is a good wrestler. He has been in too many great matches to not be considered a good wrestler. And I'm even hesitant right now because I should be saying a great wrestler, but I'm saying a good wrestler. The guy knows what he's doing. He's a phenomenal performer, and he's not getting that due because he's been sacrificed as this guy who is super clean and kid friendly, where he could use that as his ultimate incentive to say, look, I don't care about what you guys think anymore. And boom, just cheat, hurt people, break the rules.
I think that's why I watch every single week and every pay-per-view, just to see the moment when it happens. Because I've missed the Bash at the Beach in '96 when Hogan did it.
Well, and because of the ebbs and flows of wrestling throughout time, you have your peaks, you have your valleys, and a bunch of other cliches. We're due for a monumental next couple of years. At some point, a 2-3 year run of rock solid booking and performance, and I think a Cena heel turn could kickstart that. It'd be exactly what we would need right now.
Well, there's always ebbs and flows in the business, and they've always had high points.
The business.
There was another promo on Monday, and it was Triple H, and he came out nice clean pants this week. No pea spots or nothing.
It looked very dry.
Very dry. He must have baby powdered it and everything. Stephanie might have helped. I thought the promo was kind of
Yeah, he lost me when he said he's in the best shape of his life, because I couldn't help but notice that bowling ball sized tummy that he was trying to hide in that leather jacket when he said that.
Well, he was probably in the gym clanging and banging,
and banging. And it's funny you'd say that, because as soon as he said that he was going to the gym and working hard, I was thinking, were you clanging and banging? Were you clanging and banging?
So I mean, he basically is calling out Lesnar for next week. Lesnar, of course, wasn't there.
Yeah, they've been doing the rotation with Rock and Lesnar.
Yeah.
Like every other.
That's all they can afford, probably.
I guess. Which is fine. I mean, it's more screen time to talk about Tout.
Yeah. I did like the Shield. They also had a promo on The Undertaker and The Big Show, which I thought was really cool. Mm-hmm. And they're basically saying, like, you guys are old, we're the future, we're undefeated too.
Yeah.
Like, no one's talking about us, but we're undefeated. And, we've beaten a lot of guys.
I'm excited to see these guys, just to see what happens post Shield when they begin to carve out their identities in WWE.
Yeah.
I guess after the show, after it went off air, Shield attacked Big Show, which led to the 3-on-3 match that was advertised for off air.
Shield lost.
Shield, was it Shield, Cena, Sheamus, and Big Show? And it was a DQ victory.
Well, yeah.
Shield lost by DQ.
Okay. So yeah, at least it was off air.
Yeah.
We also had a sighting of your favorite wrestler, or one of your favorite wrestlers, the ever-balding Billy Gunn.
I take back part of what I was saying. I can't remember if it was last week. See, we missed a day and I forget. Was it last week or 2 weeks ago when I was talking about how good he looked and all that? I mean, he's definitely his age. He was a step slower. He struggled to get to some of his pins, but I mean, that hair, yeah, it's. You were mentioning before the air that his hair's getting long in the back, but there's not much up front.
Yeah, it stopped growing in the front for some reason.
Kind of like Matt Hardy.
Kind of like Matt Bush, Yeah, no problem. But then we finished our show with the Fatal 4 match, which saw Punk going over, pinning Orton, and I saw him actually kind of lean in and say thank you, which was a cool moment. Not a lot of people catch that when they actually talk when they're pinning, and that's just a quick, cool thing, old school kind of thing for putting him over. The match was kind of okay. It
was all right. Again, predictable. You knew Punk was going to go forward, which is fine. I mean, I was excited to see Orton in that match.
Yeah.
See the dynamic with those 4 guys. It was a good result, but again, I couldn't help but feel hesitant about being happy about it, since I think that Punk just won for the right to lose to the Undertaker. All of that being said, wins and losses really, I guess, truly don't matter, especially in this WrestleMania Undertaker match, because Punk will look good in defeat. He'll look great in defeat. And like you said, whether Undertaker goes down this time for good, or if he comes back and wins like he has the previous 20 times, I know he will make Punk look great, and I know there will be some kind of exchange at the end. Probably not like the Triple H and Michaels Undertaker matches, but some kind of exchange where, Undertaker gives a tip of the cap. For all I know, we might have Punk beat the living hell out of Undertaker after the match to get even more heat, but there will be some kind of sign of respect given by the Undertaker, because I mean, Punk is tremendous. The feud they had a few years ago, when a lot of people within WWE didn't think Punk was ready, even post World Heavyweight Championship run, that was a great feud. Yeah. And I mean, really, they worked so well together. It should be a surprise to nobody.
Yeah, well, I think even having a match at WrestleMania with him is a tip of the hat to him.
Exactly.
Because he basically has his choice. Like, he decides who he fights.
It's true.
And for him to pick CM Punk is pretty impressive, especially at this point.
I just hope it leads to something after Mania.
Yeah.
Something big for Punk, something involving Undertaker, even if he's not in a wrestling capacity. I mean, how cool would it be if Undertaker just had Punk's back for something, for anything after that? And that would be awesome.
Yeah,
I'm just dreaming.
It would be
here.
cool. Yeah, I don't know how it would work, but yeah, that might be interesting. So as we know, WrestleMania 29 is only 32 days away.
Yeah, 32.
Something like that. April 7th, we thought this would be the perfect time to look back at the 10 greatest WrestleManias of all time up till now. So what do we got for number 10, Jimmy?
Number 10, we have WrestleMania 28, last year's WrestleMania. What are your thoughts about it?
I liked it. I liked it a lot. The Cena Rock match had a big fight feel. It had the WrestleMania 6 kind of, Ultimate Warrior versus Hogan, or Hogan versus Rock, or Austin versus Stone Cold.
You could do that in a game.
Yeah, the ultimate match. Austin Rock. It had that big fight feel. It was a really cool atmosphere, and The Rock winning was a complete shock to me. I really thought Cena was going to win. I thought that was really cool, and the once-in-a-lifetime match was unbelievable as well.
What stood out to me more than anything, and there were some terrific matches, Jericho Punk, awesome. that Daniel Bryan match, it was a quick match, but what stood out to me was that match kicked off the show, and that crowd in Miami was on fire the entire time. The way they got behind Daniel Bryan, and then the next night at Raw, that next night at Raw, that was one of my favorite Raws, period, based solely on the crowd. And that WrestleMania, they carried it. It was great for that Rock Cena match. It was great throughout the night. I just hope it's like that. I hope it's like that for you next month.
I
just hope it is.
I really
hope
so.
Awesome.
Yeah, because I am going to Raw after as well. But I still have that Raw taped on my DVR.
Do you?
Yeah. And in the top 5 anti-Cena list that I made, you can actually... I embedded the video of Cena talking to the crowd and then Lesnar coming in and F5ing him. So,
that's awesome.
Yeah, you should check it out if you haven't seen it. It's really, really cool. So number 9.
Number 9, WrestleMania 6. This one, I mean, card-wise, probably not the strongest at all. Even the main event, it's not the prettiest match, but significance for an 7-year-old Jimmy Bellamy.
And probably 11-year-old Edge was in the crowd.
Yeah, that's true. And I mean,
the Toronto Skydome.
One of us became a tag team champion with the guy in the main event.
Yeah, well, combined, you each, if you and Edge combined have about 10 titles.
Yes, we do. That's true. Actually, we have about 14 because I have 4 downstairs in the storage tub
that you bought for $15 at Kmart.
I think they were like 12.
Oh, okay.
But they were on sale.
Nice.
One spins though.
Blue light.
Yes.
Blue light.
So this WrestleMania 6, Toronto Skydome, 1989, Undertaker, Ultimate Warrior, another U wrestler, Ultimate Warrior, and Hulk Hogan, title versus title, Intercontinental Champion versus WWF Champion. The significance. First time. I mean, now we have, they'll have it on WWE main event. Will have a title versus title match, but I mean, champion versus champion. I should say not title for title like this.
Well, at the time there was only those two.
Mm-hmm. Well, and they're the tag team titles.
Well, and the tag team, yeah, and women's, I guess.
And I don't think they had the women's championship that year. I could be wrong, but I don't think they lost. They left it for a while. That's why Moolah had it for so long, because they didn't wrestle for the women's title for a while. But when Hulk Hogan lost, I was stunned.
Well, it was his first time in 3.5 years.
Stunned.
Like that. Big fight feel again, like I just mentioned. Really cool. I mean, if you watch it now, it's not a great watch.
Yeah.
But it meant so much, and it was such a big deal back then. Definitely worthy of a top 10. And
that's why it's in my top 10, because when you say the word WrestleMania 6 is one that stands out to me. I see the yellow and the gold. I see the Ultimate Warrior. That's why this one has to be in the top 10.
Well, I made a trailer for me and my girlfriend's trip to New York because I was bored and I thought it'd be fun. And I actually have that match in there a few times in quick cuts. So I might put that up on the website too. I haven't done that.
Not bad.
Yeah.
It wasn't the prettiest match, but to me, significance, it has to be in top 10.
Really cool.
Number 8 is WrestleMania 18 from 2002.
Also coming from the Skydome in Toronto. We had quite a few big matches headlined by Rock and Hogan. I don't even know if it had a tagline. But
Rock Hogan, this was far better than I expected it to be. Going into Mania, I wasn't excited about it. I knew Hogan's best days were far behind him. But the way the crowd embraced him and almost forced him into turning into a good guy. That to me made it worth it. And I mean, you look at now, Rock is the only one who can lay claim to beating Hogan, Stone Cold, and John Cena at WrestleMania. That's pretty sweet.
Or anywhere.
Yeah, or anywhere. This match was phenomenal as far as just the emotional impact that it had on the people watching it. I mean, they really, as they say and they strive for each time, they want to tell you a story with their match. And these guys told the story, and it was a great one.
The crowd really made that match. It was really cool. We also had on the card, we had Triple H winning the Undisputed Championship from Jericho.
Yep. He returned from injury, I think, 2 months before that.
Yeah, I think that's right.
It was late January. Might have been January 26th, 2002 at Raw.
And we also had an underrated Undertaker match against Ric Flair. extending the streak to 10-0.
I think that sounds about right.
11-0?
Because he's had a match every year since then, right? So I think it would be.
I can't remember.
Because it would be 10 because it was 20 last year in 2012.
Yeah.
So it would have been 10.
Has he missed any?
I don't think he's missed any since then.
Okay.
Because lately that's really all the work he's done is WrestleMania lately. That was an underrated match, but that was a great show overall. I enjoyed that, and that was a good time of wrestling. That was when they had that group of ECW, WCW, and WWF guys where, I feel like they did drop the ball with all of that. They were in that weird in-between time with Austin injured on his way out. Yeah. Didn't quite know how to use some other guys.
But just a loaded roster. It was cool. They had like a DDP match.
DDP.
Just a throwaway.
Brock Lesnar, Hurricane. They had all these guys part of WWE.
So number 7?
Number 7, WrestleMania 10, 1994.
Coming from Madison Square Garden, the birthplace of WrestleMania 1. We had some awesome matches. This is one of my favorite WrestleManias ever. We had Owen Hart versus Bret Hart in a classic match.
Brother versus brother.
Like, the Harbaughs. Owen goes over and wins. It was the first match of the night. What made this unique was that Bret Hart went on to win the WWF Championship later that night against Yokozuna. Which Yokozuna had carried the belt for about 300 days, and I hated Yokozuna.
He was a monster.
He would just leave the ring. I'm going to get counted out. He would just walk out. Almost every match. I hated him. Mr. Fuji throwing crap in people's eyes.
That's salt.
Terrible, but a great heel. I loved it. We also had one of the best matches of all time with Razor Ramon and HBK.
The ladder match. That was the first ladder match in WWF history.
I don't think it was. I think there was some before, but I think it was the first one at WrestleMania.
Okay, because I thought it was the first ladder match at
you may be right,
in WWE.
But I thought there was
pretty sure. I could be wrong. Somebody's going to be like, well, at a house show in El Paso, I don't know. But I'm pretty sure that was the first.
Might have been the first on like a pay-per-view.
Yeah, definitely the first at WrestleMania, but I thought it was the first period.
I think they promoted it as the first, but it really wasn't.
Okay.
Like
they lie all the time. Yeah. Just like with Undefeated.
They forget their history.
Like you conveniently can forget this. How about number 6, WrestleMania 3, 1987, of course. Biggest WrestleMania crowd at the time.
Yep, 93,173 people allegedly. That's been disputed.
It has been disputed.
It was an indoor record for.
It was probably as honest as a wrestler's height and weight.
Yeah, exactly.
And hometown.
Until the NBA All-Star Game was held in Dallas a couple years ago, was the indoor attendance record. We had a few great matches. Obviously it was headlined by Hulk and Andre with the seminal thing. Hogan slamming Andre. Andre was promoted as being undefeated in his career.
Yeah.
So, you talk about Goldberg.
You talk about lying.
Yeah, which is, yeah.
You have that, and plus they said it was the first time he was slammed. Hogan had slammed him in the past, and other people had slammed him as well. Yeah. Of course, territories, and this was pre-everything being televised and tweeted and whatnot.
But it was such a big deal back then. It still is remembered today.
And we'd be remiss if we didn't mention...
Savage versus Steamboat.
Yep.
For a long, long time, that was rated as one of the... as the top match of all time. I go back and watch it now. It's a solid match. Really technical. It you would expect HBK and Y2J to put this match on, in their primes together. It was that good, and it's definitely worth watching even today, where you expect that kind of wrestling.
Number 5, WrestleMania 21 took place in 2005. And what were your highlights for that?
Well, that was in the Staples Center in LA. I loved the opening match against Mysterio and Eddie Guerrero. They were supposed to be best buds, but they had a feud. Really good match, really unique, because they can do things other people couldn't, especially back then. The Money in the Bank ladder match, it was the first time ever, and Edge won that. Not a lot of people know Y2J actually came up with the idea for that match.
I did not know that.
Yeah, back behind the stage, he came up with the idea for the Money in the Bank match.
Very cool. Thank you, Chris.
Yes. We also had Taker versus the Legend Killer, Randy Orton. who fell to a legend. And
did not quite kill that one.
Yes. We had Cena winning his first title ever.
Beating JBL.
Our WWE Championship title, beating JBL. We had Batista beating Triple H in a really cool angle.
I liked that because I thought that Triple H was going to win that match, so I was pleasantly surprised when Batista won.
Yeah.
And a great match.
Match of the night.
Awesome match. To this day, one of my favorites because it contained one of my favorite wrestlers of all time and one of most people's favorite wrestlers of all time.
Which is?
My favorite, Kurt Angle, against HBK, who I love HBK, but I think I almost can't put him as one of my favorites because he's almost everybody else's favorite.
Sure.
But an awesome match.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, what you would expect from these guys, and then some.
Go back and watch it if you haven't seen it.
Awesome.
I might put it up on the website, just all these matches we're talking about.
Do it.
Yeah. Number 5?
Number 4. Number 4 is WrestleMania 14, 1998. This one, to me, is what really ushered in the Attitude Era. This was the changing of the guard. HBK and Shawn Michaels. Just like Austin versus Stone Cold. Stone Cold versus HBK. Stone Cold winning his first WWF title. HBK going on, a 4-year hiatus from wrestling.
WrestleMania 19.
Just with
5 years.
I mean, a back that's pretty much destroyed.
Yep.
No one expects him to ever wrestle again. He has no plans to wrestle again. Goes away for 4 years. This match, I picture the kick, Austin catching the foot, spinning him around,
kick,
stunner, ball game.
First title for Stone Cold in the WWE as WWE champion.
Don't forget that $1 million championship as the ringmaster.
Yeah, I'm not forgetting about that. That was in the Fleet Center in Boston. We also had some other matches on the card, which were pretty good. We had Undertaker versus Kane, their first battle at WrestleMania after that awesome feud that we talked about last week. We had Triple H versus Owen Hart in a good match, and The Rock versus Ken Shamrock in an Intercontinental title match.
I believe you are correct. That was a fun one too, and actually I think we got to relive that one in WWE 13.
Yes, and speaking of WWE 13, we forgot to mention that Mike Tyson was involved in that match.
As Mike Tyson,
guest referee, turns his back on DX, knocks out Shawn Michaels, gives a 1-2-3, and ushers in the Attitude Era.
Very cool. Number 3? Was that? Yeah. Number 3. WrestleMania 17, or what is affectionately known as WrestleMania X7.
X7.
Took place in 2001.
This was my favorite WrestleMania of all time. Took place in Reliance Stadium in Houston, which had just opened for the Houston Texans. Awesome building, by the way. But we had The Rock versus Stone Cold. Their second match, and that had the Stone Cold heel turn. Which an ill-fated heel turn, but it was still really, really shocking and really a cool moment at the time.
The best thing that came out of that heel turn was the 2-man power trip with Triple H when they had all the gold. But the way it happened with the multiple chair shots and Vince McMahon there rooting for him, it was a little tough to take.
Yeah. I mean, you couldn't buy it, but it was still a shocking moment that you remember.
It was.
We also had a couple other good matches. We had Jericho versus William Regal for the Intercontinental title, Eddie Guerrero versus Test, Kurt Angle versus Chris Benoit in an awesome match.
Yes, great match.
We had Shane versus Vince McMahon, and one of the coolest matches of all time. We had the triple threat ladder, tables, ladders, and chair match between
Edge and Christian,
the Hardys,
and the Dudleys.
I was thinking 3D.
I remember witnessing that match and thinking, this is phenomenal.
Yeah.
And I think that was the one that contained the spear from the top of the ladder, which you see a lot.
Yeah, in every clip show. Or
that was a sweet match.
Which the Edge and Christian won that match for the title. Really, I mean, you can watch it today and it holds up.
The thing that makes it even better now is that the tag team titles and the tag team division was at its peak right there.
Absolutely.
Where now, I mean, they're piecemealing teams together now, and it's like, whatever, these guys are the champs, and they're fighting the primetime players. Where this, I mean, you had the APA, you had the Dudleys, Edge and Christian, the Hardys, God, there's going to be a few others I'm forgetting, but you had even like, I don't know if Midia and Viscera were still there at this point, or Shamrock and Bossman were still there. I don't think they were.
Were the Team Angle around at the time?
No, I don't think the World's Greatest Tag Team was there yet. I think they might have been in 02 or 03.
Yeah, I think maybe a couple of years
But I know if I look back, there were some awesome... I think you had... Oh, no, you did not have the Outlaws anymore at this point. They were gone in 2000. February of 2000, I think, was their last Raw match until Monday. But you had a great tag team division, and, I mean, those 4 teams there that we named were rock solid.
Oh, yeah.
Number 2... WrestleMania 15, 1999. Rock Austin won.
Rock Austin won. I don't think I have anything written down for this one. So I'm going to let you take it.
All I know about this one is that this is when I was in wrestling full bore again. I dipped out a little bit in my early teens. Got back into it like late 1997, early 1998. And then was, just boom into it hardcore, and I really haven't left it since. So this, to me, this was the first WrestleMania that I saw live. All the other ones I had to see on tape. So I remember
on pay-per-view, we should say. Not, you weren't in the building.
Yes, I was not in the building. I've never attended a WrestleMania, but this was I watched on pay-per-view. The others were just tapes. And to me, it was everything I had hoped it to be. WrestleMania with Rock and Austin for the first time. That was enough to make it for me, just to see these guys.
Stone Cold won that match, right?
Oh, God, now you're putting me on the spot. And I sound like such a douche not remembering. But I think Stone Cold did.
Yeah, I believe
I'm pretty sure he did.
Do you remember any of the other matches?
I'm trying to think. I think Owen Hart, using his Enough is Enough gimmick, fought somebody. Oh, I'm going to have to look it up. We're going to look it up right now. You talk about number 1, and I'm going to look up number 2.
All right, well, number 1, we have WrestleMania 19. This was another one of my favorites. Totally underrated HBK match. It was his first match back after 5-year hiatus. He had the weird hair. He was wrestling in jeans for some reason. HBK versus Y2J. Y2J was imitating him. Doing his kick-ups, doing the super kick, doing all that stuff. Really awesome match. And then, of course, Y2J at the end has to kick him while he's down, that to win. So that was really cool. We had the Hogan-McMahon match, which was great. We had Rock versus Stone Cold 3, Stone Cold's final match in WWF. I think it was still F.
Yeah. Wait, what year was this? 2003?
Yeah.
No, it was E.
It was WWE.
Yeah.
Stone Cold's final match, unless he comes back next year, which I hope he does because I plan on going. And then another unbelievable angle match versus Brock Lesnar. The famous shooting star press.
Yes, where I was convinced that he had died.
I think he's dead still.
Yeah, it was unbelievable.
I don't know how he's walking around.
Couple things. Back to our tag teams from 2001. I forgot about the Hollies. Hardcore Holly and Crash Holly.
Yep.
WrestleMania 15 matches. Jacqueline with Terry Runnels with a PMS. They beat Jacqueline beat Ivory, who had D'Lo Brown in her corner. D'Lo was busy that night. These were Heat matches, and then on Heat, D'Lo and Test beat Droz and The Godfather for the number 1 contenders to take on Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett, the champions. And Owen Hart and Jeff Jarrett prevailed in that match. Hardcore Holly beat Billy Gunn and Al Snow in a triple threat match for the Hardcore Championship. And then who could forget Butterbean knocking out Bart Gunn in like 34 seconds in that Brawl for All match. Mankind beat Big Show by DQ. That was when Big Show made his WrestleMania debut. Mm-hmm. Road Dogg, Jesse James at the time was Intercontinental Champion, beating Ken Shamrock. And Goldust, who had the Blue Meanie and Ryan Shamrock in his corner. And Val Venus for the IC title. A 4 corners elimination match. And then we had Kane, who had Chyna. That was when Chyna turned on Triple H. Kane beat Triple H by a DQ in a singles match. And Sable defeated Tori, if you remember Tori.
I remember Tori.
For the women's championship. And then Shane McMahon and Test, with Test in his corner, retained the European title by defeating X-Pac. And
I love Shane McMahon.
Probably one of the worst Undertaker matches he defeated
the
Big Boss Man in a Hell in a Cell match.
Terrible.
And I think he hanged him after that match. He hanged him, which
Probably
was
in the back for being such a terrible match.
And then, of course, Rock losing to Stone Cold.
Yeah.
Losing his title.
Now that I think about it, that was not a great WrestleMania.
See, to me, I had it as high as we did because of its significance to me in my life.
I'll let you justify that one.
Nobody can take that away from me.
Tell you what, if I put this on Bleacher Report, I'm going to change number 2. Because I don't want 1,000 people yelling at me.
I know, after reading that on Wikipedia, it sounds like it was more of a number 2 than being number 2. But to me, it's number 2 in my heart because of how it kept me in. If it wasn't for that, we wouldn't be doing this podcast right now.
Okay, fair enough. We do have to kick into our fantasy draft quick. I know we're at an hour already.
How are we determining top pick?
Well, I was going to ask you about that.
Should we do 2 out of 3 Rochambeau? Rock, paper, scissors?
Rock, paper, scissors. Let's do it.
2 out of 3. I win paper? Yeah. Well, let's start over. Okay, 1-1.
1-1. Oh, yes. All right, you get the first pick.
I've got to go with Stone Cold Steve Austin.
All right, I figured. All right, I'm going to write these down. We got Jimmy, Team Jimmy. Yeah, you can hear it. That's fine.
And
Team Matt.
That's an obvious number 1 pick. Got to go with Austin. Dude's a badass.
All right. I'm going to have to go with The Undertaker.
All right. I'm going to go with The Rock. Pick number 2.
Yeah, I almost went that way. I know you got a stack team already. All right, with my second pick, I'm going to go with HBK.
Oh, you took my number 3. With that, I'm going to read your mind, and I'm going to take CM Punk.
Oh, man. All right. My number 3, I'm going with Goldberg.
Oh, boy. Really?
Mm-hmm. WCW Goldberg.
We could have been on pick 30, and I wouldn't have picked Goldberg.
I wanted him, man. I wanted him on my team.
I'm going to go with, and if we can go any era and any type, I'm going to go with Hulk Hogan. Even though I don't like Hulk Hogan, I'm picking him.
All right. Well, then I will take the guy who beat Hulk Hogan at WrestleMania 6, the Ultimate Warrior.
That's fine, because I'm taking Macho Man Randy Savage with my 5th pick.
Wow. Macho Man.
The Mega Powers.
And with the final pick in the first round, or the first day of the draft.
First round.
5th round.
First round, that's cool.
All right. I will take... Man, this is a tough one. I don't want to ruin it. I feel like I've already ruined a few things. Let's see. I will take
Midian.
No. I'm going to take Chris Jericho.
Ah, that's a solid pick. I contemplated taking him at number 4.
Yes. So this is our team so far. We got Team Jimmy with Stone Cold and The Rock, CM Punk, Hulk Hogan, and Macho Man Randy Savage. That is one hell of a roster right there.
That's a good 5. That's a good start.
That'd be an awesome Survivor Series team right there. And Team Matt, we got Undertaker, Shawn Michaels, Bill Goldberg, The Ultimate Warrior, and Y2J Chris Jericho.
That's a colorful bunch. Yeah. That would sell any pay-per-view right there.
Oh yeah, I would watch it.
Right now, people are like, oh, The Ultimate Warrior sucks. No, dude, if you saw The Ultimate Warrior run out like he did in the 80s, you would go crazy. I don't care what you say. If you saw Goldberg at his peak in WCW come out, you'd be excited. And I mean, then you've got HBK and The Undertaker. We've got some solid starts here, and I'm looking forward to seeing the next 10.
Yeah, so tell us what you think. Follow us on all of our social media, different things. We got YouTube, we got Facebook, we got Twitter, Immortals PCast, at Immortals PCast. We got at 97Bush for myself, at Jimmy Bellamy, correct?
Correct.
So check us out there. Follow us on Twitter. All right, thanks, guys.
Take care, boys and girls.